welcome to Top Deck Heroes. Tonight we have
Hello.
a very, very special guest. We have Mark Wisniewski from Michigan. He came on to tell us a little bit about their weird, messed up, ooh, we don't play standard anymore format. But before that, let's start with the news. And there is a little bit of news this week. It's not necessarily UFS related, but I was made aware by the powers that be at Jasco Games that Buffy and Top Gun will be releasing next week.
Top Gun is awesome. We had a chance to demo it at Gen Con 2 years ago, now I believe it was.
It was
like
a
a
long time
prototype
ago.
version.
Oh man. So it's not dropping until next week though. So it's not we can't buzz the tower at the Super Bowl party.
I mean, I have a prototype copy.
Hey.
Um,
Yeah, Top Gun party game's a blast.
I just remember we were absolutely like just getting loaded in Indianapolis and playing like the prototype, and it was just amazing. I mean, everyone's given like a name, like a call sign. So like your Maverick or whatever, and there's all kinds of, you have to yell out quotes from the movie and high five each other,
Flip
talk
people
about
off.
volleyball, talk smack to each other. It was super fun. Yeah. Okay. No offense to any. I know there's a lot of work that goes into UFS. I legitimately think it's the finest thing Jasco Games has ever made. I'm not kidding. I legitimately think Top Gun is the greatest thing they've ever made.
You know, I honestly
absolutely
think
loved it.
Top Gun is just at the pinnacle of its genre. I mean, Kevin, have you ever even seen Top Gun?
I saw it once.
You see, unlike Slam, Kevin Broberg and I weren't alive when Top Gun first released, so perhaps we don't have the same nostalgia value. But even if I was talking to folks who've never even seen Top Gun, and they had a great time playing the game. And
Yeah.
so I think that just is a testament to how good the design is. Because
Absolutely.
we demoed it at a convention, and there was like a 12-year-old kid playing, and he was having a great time. And ain't no way someone who's 12 years old's ever seen Top Gun.
I mean, let's be honest. The movie is really good for this because it's not like there's a lot of plot elements. I mean, it's the prelude, the homoerotic volleyball montage, and then the coda.
Homoerotic volleyball scene really stood the test of time,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that there's little nods to it in the game. I appreciated some of that. But it was just like getting to insult the person who doesn't call the number one rule of the game is that once that game starts, everyone's call sign is your name. If you slip, like if you call me Mark and my call sign is Maverick, everyone at the table just gives you crap. And it's just terrific. It was I really had a blast with it.
So actually, I don't know if we've had this conversation in Top Gun. So in the UFS community, we all go by our full names. Like it's Mark Wisniewski, Kevin Broberg, Sean O'Brien, Keenan, everyone's full names. So you get a penalty when you say someone's name, but do you get twice the penalty if you say their full name because it's two names?
If I had to make the rules, if I was going to do the is it LRG?
LGR?
Yeah, that thing that I don't read. If it was, if I had to do that, I would call it. You called my name wrong twice. Like, if you call me Mark Slam Wisniewski, that's three names that you did wrong. So, I would say that's each name counts for an insult. And I don't know if you play drinking rules, if you drink if you screw up. I think that's how we did it. Was if you screw up or when you lose or something, you had to drink. We turned it into a drinking game very quickly.
Its structure is very, very accommodating to the introduction of alcohol for sure.
Absolutely. And I've played several of those like smaller card games. Like there's ones called there's a great one called We Didn't Play Test This at All. That's really good. I mean, everyone I think is at this point has played Cards Against Humanity. Apples to Apples, that kind of stuff. And I'm saying this straight face as I can. I really think Top Gun is the best of that genre I've ever played. I really had a great time with it. So I'm glad it's coming out next week. I'm going to buy it, no doubt.
Well, if you are going to buy it, I recommend buying it at rochesterccg.com. It's actually probably one of the most reasonably priced products Jasco has released as well. The price point is extremely reasonable on it. I think it's less than $10. I'm going to look that up real quick.
I will say, too, can I put in a plug for Rochester CCG? Because I just made a very large singles purchase today. I believe I bought like 200 singles. through Rochester. I highly recommend Rochester for whether it's UFS or Top Gun or whatever else you're doing. Rochester is the longest running and most reliable singles company still going. I love doing business with Sean. Go out and buy it through them. I highly recommend it.
I appreciate that. So we do have the Top Gun Plot Twist Party game available at RochesterCCG.com for the low price of $7.50.
Whoa! I should have bought that today. Oh my god.
Well, sorry, Slam. I think your order's even shipped already.
Oh no, that's fine. I mean, I appreciate the literally I bought earlier and it's already shipped, guys. I'm just saying, buy through them.
Slab, tell Chris Smith that XWC. Put that on the MCS streams.
Oh, I'm going. I think Sean's mentioned it. I was literally, I think, the first customer from Rochester, Rochester CCG. So I've been buying from Sean for a long time, and it's not without reasons. You guys are always great, reliable. If there's issues, you guys will correct them. It's great. I like doing business with you guys, so I continue to do so, and will continue to do so.
We appreciate that. In addition, I could sit here and talk about Top Gear for the rest of the show, but
we talk about Top Gear too. Yeah.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer is also legal. Well, not legal. Wow, we're talking UFS terms here. It is also legal. Released this coming next week as well, and I have actually not had a chance to play the game yet. This game was developed as a partnership between Jasco Games and Landvander Studios up in Canada, but everything I've seen from them has been really, really good from Landvander, so I would not be surprised if the game plays well. And one thing I've noticed about these two games compared to the last board game Jasco released is pricing. The Mega Man board game was too expensive. I think it was too expensive. It was too complicated. I mean, the models were great, but $80 is an awful lot for a nostalgia board game. But Buffy's at $30, which I think is a very reasonable price point for a board game, and Top Gun at $7.50 I think puts it cheaper than most other games in that genre.
Legitimately, even I think at $7.50, I mean, even the small local games, because there was a local game shop by me that they literally had a printer and everything, and they would do independent printing for small companies, and even some of the independent games were way more expensive than Top Gun is, and Top Gun is just better than most of those. So that's really cool. $7.50 is I didn't know it was going to be that cheap. Legitimately, I was thinking $15 or something That's awesome.
No, it's an incredibly good price point. And while we're talking about board games, I do want to do a shout out to Nando Aragon. He is running his second Kickstarter for Steal the Show Act 2, the highly anticipated sequel to his card game. I believe they already beat their goal within the first 24 hours for that Kickstarter.
Wow, that's awesome. Good stuff, Nando.
And I've played Steal the Show. Kevin, I know Kevin likes Steal the Show. Have you had a chance to play it, Slab?
Dude.
I have not. I actually was going to check it out when I go to Atlanta this time. I'm planning on actually checking it out and picking it up.
Yeah,
good choice.
I think it's a good choice. It's a lot of fun. You learn it pretty quickly. The insults I don't think are quite as good because I don't have a big Shakespeare thing going for me. I'd rather talk crude like in Top Gun.
I have a little bit of Shakespeare from. I was forced to study it in college as an English major, so it was interesting to see that it was Shakespeare themed and seeing I love the art in it too. It was really cool to see the interpretations of some of the characters from Shakespeare's works, and I'd like to see how it all plays out in the card game.
It's a lot of fun. It's a little higher than the price point for Top Gun, but if you are interested, we do sell it at RochesterCCG.com for $18.74. Now, my understanding is the sequel, Act 2, you'll be able to combine it with the original Steal the Show, or you will be able to play it as a standalone game. Now, the version we have for sale at Rochester CCG is the first edition, which does include all the Kickstarter goodies. So come get them while they're still hot. But now it's time to move on to the UFS portion of our UFS talk show here, guys.
The main event of the evening.
The main event. We're past the pre-show.
Speaking of, I gotta stop for a second.
Uh-oh.
Speaking of the main show, I watched the Royal Rumble last weekend, and I was very disappointed that number 30 was not the Nature Boy.
Well, I think everyone was disappointed that it was Roman Reigns, and I don't like it. It could have been it could have been like me walking out, and they'd have been like, "Well, at least it's not Roman Reigns." But damn it, it's Roman Reigns. Like, I don't know who this Mark guy is, and why is he wearing this this black hoodie all the time? Like, and he comes strolling out to the ring. But like, I'll try to be quick on this. Roman Reigns coming out was just such a bummer. Like, I was in a room full of people in Illinois. I got after the MCS tournament on Sunday night. A bunch of us got together. And it's, 15 people in a basement watching this thing. And the whole basement was just deflated when he came out. Like, we were all hyped because Taker came out at 29, and we're like, okay, how do you top Undertaker? We're thinking Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, like something, different. Or, is Kurt Angle going to come out or something like at 30? And Roman came out, and the whole room was just deflated. We were all like, oh, when the crowd starts chanting, "This is bullshit" at it, that says something. That's 50,000 people, guys. Like, they were chanting BS, and this is BS at it. Like, that's a big deal.
What do you think of the conspiracy theory that they did that so that Randy Orton would get a pop from the crowd, that everyone would be happy? Oh, thank God Roman didn't win it.
I think people are actually into Orton again, and I think a lot of it has to do with the RKO vines, the out of nowhere thing. I really do. I think a lot of that is the RKO vines really made Orton popular. Like, people go nuts for the RKO when they know that RKO is coming. They go crazy, and people were cool with Orton.
They don't know it's coming too.
Oh yeah. Especially when it's from out of nowhere. When he's like sneaking up and he does the weird pose but what's good for me is I do think they're setting up for Orton against Wyatt at Mania, and I love Bray Wyatt. I have more Wyatt family shirts than I do any other wrestler. So I think we're setting up Wyatt Orton for the title, and I'm pretty hyped on that.
The only other thing about the Rumble that disappointed me, and we'll get off of Conversation Street in the UFS.
We'll go right into UFS in a minute.
Was so we knew Undertaker was going to come out, and so we had speculated that they would call his number, and his music would play, and he'd come out. And then by the time he got to the ring, the next person would run by him. Because you know how he likes to take his time getting down to the ring. So we were all pretty surprised when the lights went out. He just appeared out of nowhere. All right.
Well, that was super awesome, though. Like, yeah. I was pumped.
I don't care how cold it would have taken him to walk down there.
4 minutes.
You don't have any idea. Like, legitimately, if they want, it would have taken him forever to. They had the old WrestleMania 3 card out there for some of the guys. Like Strowman and Mark Henry and stuff got driven down there on a moped, on the back of a moped. They did. There's a picture of this weird old guy driving this scooter with a rail on the back that Mark Henry and Strowman and the big guys were holding on to, so that they didn't have to walk the whole way down the ramp.
All right, so the Midwest Championship Series was this weekend as well.
That's right.
That's the first independently organized tournament series we've had in quite some time, and it's the first time that I guess the 2K last year had their own little rule set, but it's the first time we've had deck building changes from the official standard rules. No King of Fighters cards in the Midwest Championship Series. Slam, you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the origin kind of this entire series. Yeah. The concept, it's a big Facebook group chat that is going on right now as we speak with me, Phil Birch, Corey Hicks from St. Louis, Sean Bullock from Indianapolis, and Chris Smith in Illinois. And it was kind of brainchild. Phil literally explained it to me I just wanted to play more tournaments. And that was literally how he explained it to me. And it started as we were going to do this thing. It was just going to be like a standard, reminiscent of kind of the Empire Circuit. That was kind of the idea, was like a Midwestern version of the Empire Circuit. And it was, we started talking more, and Phil had the idea, let's make it new player based and make it about promoting newer players getting into the game and tournament scenes. And the easiest way to do that is to remove the incredibly hard to get cards from the format. And it was King of Fighters. And we also wanted to experiment with a smaller card pool. We wanted to see kind of what it did to deck building, what it did to UFS going forward in a future rotation.
Y'all could have just played Turbo.
Yeah. Yeah. But the idea though is it's really been pitched before. I've seen it mentioned before about, hey, why don't we just rotate King of Fighters, like all of it? And I think that's, we'll go a little deeper into it when we talk about the tournament. But I do think that coming out, especially after this first tournament and seeing kind of the reception to it, everyone loved it. As we started practicing and getting ready for this tournament and this series, we've all fell in love with the format. And honestly, it feels and flows a lot better without King of Fighters in it. And it's something that took us playing a lot of it. I mean, that's all we play is MCS format. It's MCS, I believe, it's a nod to the LCS, which is like a League of Legends thing. Like,
Okay.
So there's little nods there. But the idea though is that it's a newbie friendly tournament. There's no KOF at all. But so it means that, rather than, okay, I need to borrow Robert Kicks and Nivos, I need to borrow Short Fuse. You know, it's much more accessible. And we definitely like loan some cards out and help build decks and things like that. It was very newbie friendly, and I hope it continues that way. And I hope that Jasco sees from this format that it's really probably a good way to go forward, is to look into possibly just rotate all of KOF. I don't know if they will. Oh, I'm sorry, store owner. But it's I'm just saying, from a purely, take the financial stuff out, and just from a fun and like from a fun perspective and an ease of getting the cards perspective, I think a full KOF rotation would be the best option for the game. Sorry, Sean, but it's some of it is just the accessibility of the cards is just really outrageous. Like, if you're trying to find, like, if you're a new player, you're brand new. Like, we just got a new guy playing from our new store this like 2 weeks ago. If he wanted to play a Felicia deck in standard, you have like.
You can
love
do that,
finding
you can do that
dancing
14
flashes.
million ways, though.
I know, but okay, if I wanted to build the deck that Kevin was successful with, like in Atlanta last year.
Yeah, Summer Heat rotated. GG. You gotta do some new stuff anyway.
It's not just Summer Heat though. Like, the offense was Robert Kicks and Nivos, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
right? Or a good
you're
chunk
right.
of it. Like, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Welcome to the game, and these cards are very hard to get. And we wanted to make it very easy for very new players if they wanted to build from kind of newer sets. And that was kind of the basic concept of it.
What gets me a little bit is that I understand that there's also I've seen a lot of people trading for rolling uppercuts and having a lot of difficulty finding that card, and that card's just as integral. Dancing Flash, like, you can play 4 Dancing Flash, 4 rolling uppercut, 4 assassination attempt, and have an awesome deck, an awesome offense. You're just trading off, like, the most important thing about Nivos in Felicia to me is the +1 high block, and then also the fact that it's, Moonlight is a really good attack.
It
I was
also
going to say, I
comes to
don't
potato.
agree.
I mean, this is my experience from playing the deck. That, like, I cut Nivoses. I played fewer Nivoses than a lot of people. I played like 2 in my deck because it's a mediocre attack on turn 2 and turn 3. Like, it's how you go late. It's like a 1-card win in some situations, but it's just slow and, like, it's blockable, which I don't like. And there are alternatives, and I think that, for me, the most important thing for a new player is helping them, like, find something they like, and then kind of giving them the knowledge to make something that works that they like, and then letting them iterate on it. And, like, to take another look at things, like, when you rotate King of Fighters, you take out all the commons and uncommons out of King of Fighters. So, like, you take out Kapogan Training. You take out one of my favorite cards, Champion of Southtown, which is, like, the jankiest combo jank with Hunt for Spiders and Dragons
Ladies Man,
that I love so much.
I was Champion of Southtown, Ladies Man, Takuma. Let's go. Like,
Like, Ladies Man is just a great
Now,
card.
having lots of cards is great. But what this format did when we started building for it is that it also has it. When you lose some of those options, you have to try different things and try some different options. And it was really interesting to see, like.
Says the guy who played
employees-
Dave Wagner.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that in Dave Wagner, it also changes the way you have to build Dave Wagner. And it also changes the way that people have to play to beat Dave Wagner. There's weird, you have to, like, it doesn't sound like much, but, like, in Christmas Dimitri, he played 4 Revokes. And I never, ever, ever in Dimitri played 4 Revokes because you can't first form it if you're going second. And it's things like that where you can't first form it if you have a bunch of them in your hand because you're Dimitri. But in that format, because it's the best answer you have to anything, there's no caught red-handed or anything like that, you have to play 4 Revokes. And it changes the way that you have to approach things. Out of your league becomes much more important on certain things. it was very interesting to see, like, because my concern when we started discussing the format was that it was just going to be Tengu dives and shield rams all day, and there would be no answer to any of it. And it just you had to get more creative in how you addressed it. Revoke obviously is the one standard that doesn't change. Revoke's there, but Evil Imposter becomes much more important. You have to have that going. If you have those symbols, just play into it. It also opened the door to other. It took stuff that could be crazy. Like I think it took Dimitri down a notch. I think it took certain symbols up a notch. Like Fire loses Walagoro, which in turn also made I don't think Errands for Grandma was as good without it. Like being able to reduce something to 6, reduce it to 3. As I knock my iPad off the stand.
I mean, I think Errands for Grandma specifically. I think that also gets worse just because there aren't as many people playing 50 damage moves from their combos and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now this is where you get creative. This is new cards. I have to shout out a card from my sideboard that I'm going to use in a lot more decks. Deliverance, man, that card's good. This attacks damage becomes 4 and it removes itself after I believe it's before damage. Is after blocks before damage, whatever. The attacks damage becomes 4 and it removes itself, so you can play it off symbol. In situations where you can't block, like when I was facing Phil, I had sided it in. I didn't get to use it, but I was siding it in against Phil playing everywhere because everywhere was getting so big I just couldn't block it if he played it on 2. So I sided in some deliverances, hoping that I'll take these from like 11 damage or 10 damage to 4, and kind of reduce it that way. You have to get a little more creative, but it was a smaller pool, so you can kind of get away with some stuff. But it wasn't so small that there were no answers to anything, and there were more answers than I realized, and that was kind of the biggest takeaway for me. Like I played Dave Wagner because I didn't think there would be much to shield ram other than Revoke, and people still found ways around it, and they found little things that you have to play it differently too. You can't just go, okay, I'm going to stop the combo. No, he's going to do it, but what do I do in response? Like, how do I breaker him? Do I play? Journey West was giving me headaches all day. Like there were different things people were doing to try and get around these things, and it was kind of cool to see the creativity come out, and people could do a little more. People could be a little more wombo-y without it being super like just kind of doing whatever they want, playing solitaire. But it was a really cool format. It was really smooth and everything went well. It was great.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of cards that when we do someday eventually start rotating out King of Fighters, like there's a lot of cards I'm looking forward to just going away. Up Smash and Devos are definitely 2 of them, but there are a lot of cards that I'm a little concerned without knowing that there's an obvious replacement for. Like you mentioned, Caught Red-Handed. I feel like things can kind of get a little bonkers without that around. People who play Tengu Dive seems more like you would do whatever you want with your Tengu Dive deck if you don't have to worry about Caught Red-Handed. And the other answers, with the exception of Revoke, just don't feel good enough.
Yeah, and even Revoke, like if you're revoking a Tengu Dive, you still really want to block it. Honestly, like you're not in good shape if you can't block it. And so now you're trading 2 cards for 1, and there was only a 5 difficulty they played it, and all this other stuff's going on. I do definitely. I know one of the truisms is that there's a truism that restrictions breed creativity, and so I think it's like every time there's a new format, kind of everything moves around. You have to reevaluate everything, and you get a lot more. Like you were saying, people get a lot more room to explore, because you don't have to worry about Ryu showing up and eating your cornflakes. Dimitri got a little bit worse and stuff like that. So that's really valuable. Although I definitely see where Sean's coming from too. Like there's the number of you can fight the same old fights you can always fight over you can always, instead of fighting over your opponent's actual combos, you can fight over the ability to pass control checks with cards like Journey West or Breaker. But how much room do you really have to maneuver in there?
And that was the interesting part, was especially with this first tournament and kind of seeing where this format's going to go in the next 2, was seeing, I was basically ready for Tengu Dive deck the format or Shield Ram deck the format. And it really wasn't. And people were really trying some different stuff. Base won the tournament, for God's sakes. It was that. Dimitri did a lot better than I thought he would, because I had built some stuff like MCS versions of Dimitri, and it didn't feel right without Athena's Knight, Caught Red-Handed, High School Crush. Those all felt really important. And I don't know if it's just some of the matchups that Dimitri got, but it just Dimitri was really, really still really strong, and I didn't. And some of it was the addition of Tombstone Stunner. Some of it was I have the card over here, Sense of Adventure, the new saucer card that that you can drop extra copies of Darkside Master or Negative Stolen into your pool just as an e-commit.
Seems reasonable.
So it's totally reasonable on a 0-5 low block spam. But it's so Dimitri was surprisingly good. I didn't think he would be as good in that format. But we were talking about this, like the importance of what King of Fighters means to the format currently. And I was doing a test game. I built the MCS version of Bishamon, and I was playing an Order Bishamon against Jeremy Ray, who was playing one of the decks he's testing. And on his board at one time, because we went to Super Mega Long Game, was like 4 Kopican trainings, 3 Champion of Muay Thai, trained by the streets, and I'm playing an MCS deck. So as MCS, I don't have access to any of these cards. So I just went MCS against whatever.
So you just land of Makai him straight to hell, though, right?
No, I didn't have Land of Makai. I have it, but it's not out, and I didn't see it. So I'm just staring at that board going, well, if this was MCS, he wouldn't have any of those. And I could actually try some things. But if you think about that, when KOF rotates, just regular KOF when Street Fighter comes out, that's 3 very large cards that are going from the format. And the other one that we all talked about a million times over when we were discussing this format in the chat and everything is Caught Red-Handed. And it's because Caught Red-Handed is it's like a 4X staple in everything right now. And if you don't have it, it gets into some weird territory of, okay, what goes in its place and how do you stop some of the gimmicks and things like that. And you have to go into like for Tengu Dive, it becomes like, all right, I let him draw the 3 and then breaker.
Slam. I just gotta say, like,
please.
This argument is not persuasive to me. I'm not like people need Caught Red-Handed to stop Tengu Dive. They have to get really out in the weird territories to stop Tengu Dive.
No, I'm not saying it's just Caught Red-Handed to stop Tengu Dive. I'm saying that the bigger part of Tengu Dive is you got to block it because if it deals, you're screwed anyway. The draw is really annoying, but if it deals, you're done. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely done. But it's tough. It's tough to. And the other thing, it's hard to judge exactly what we're doing because I don't know what's in Street Fighter. Are they going to reprint something? Are they going to come out with alternatives for these things? It'll be easier to judge when we see Street Fighter. If there's no direct answer to Caught Red-Handed, it might be one. It might not be enough answers, especially if they make more stuff that requires answers like Caught Red-Handed in Street Fighter. It's a weird design thing. I'd like to see how they kind of sort it out when Street Fighter comes out.
Well, they definitely started making kind of the breakers, the cards like War for Armageddon and Natalia 3-Dot, who kind of are designed for the people from back in the day who loved the response wars, who want to say, well, I'm going to find my way to kill you, and then I'm going to protect it with all my heart. But then hopefully there's like a triangle metagame where that deck will lose to just the raw aggro that's not trying to stop them at all.
Yes, and one of the things I discovered, I had the pleasure of facing a 0-attack Heidi in rounds, and it was really nasty to deal with until I got out of your league, out of my sideboard, and into my deck. And you out of your league dodge, and it was one of those like, okay, I'm going to win the response war by out of your leaguing dodge. And they with dodge, they burn the life on to pay cost on it, and then they've already declared that they're not blocking, so they eat the attack too. So it was devastating, but it's where I do think that winning some of those response wars and older UFS players being able to get into some of these response battles can really do some damage. We were talking about a card before we went live called Water Boils. I've been messing around with the good symbol and just really nice response cards that are coming out that kind of force a different level of thinking to the game beyond just, all right, enhance.
So Slam, so we saw Base win this tournament. We saw Dimitri and Wagner, and I can't recall who the other top 4.
It was Zoe.
Zoe was the other top 4 finish. Okay, I think that makes sense to me anyway. Do you feel like there is a lot more to explore in this format? Do you think that do you expect the next MCS tournament, which is next month, or actually this month now?
In like 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Do you expect to see a similar composition in terms of the top 8, and not just the top 8, but like the kind of the archetypes we see of a bunch of like watery Tengu Divey type decks mixed in with like your Dimitris and your fire fire mainstays and then some other weird stuff, or do you
It's-
expect to see a big shift?
It's interesting because like I know for us, I don't know if everyone's going to stick to this. I know a good chunk of us were talking about playing a different deck at each event,
Yep.
as just a personal thing. And but I also think that there's parts of this meta we haven't seen yet. There were, for instance, I never saw Stop all day. I never saw Guardian Slasher all day. There's cards that I know are really good. I never saw a Scorch Wheel deck all day. There's cards that I know are really good that just aren't being played yet. Like in this format, I mean, if you take Caught Red-Handed out, Scorch Wheel gets really nasty, like maybe a Turbo Man or something like that.
Did you see any copies of High Seas Adventure throughout the day?
Yes, they were in decks. I personally didn't like have to deal with them, but I know that they were out there. It existed. It's in the same way that Stop existed, but it was only in everyone's sideboard.
Okay, sure.
No one mained it. So it was in that same vein where it was like, okay, it's out there, but no one's like. I didn't see. I'm trying to think of some of the other stuff that I know is viable for this format. Like Critical Split I'm sure is viable for this format. Like there's plenty of stuff where I'm like, okay, this is real for the format. We just didn't see it, and some of it is because it's just one tournament. People were trying some different stuff. We have a guy, who literally in Chicago who literally cosplays as Reese and plays as Reese. So like there was a Reese deck, and Reese topped. Reese did really well. Me and Skylar from Michigan were both playing fire decks. Phil was playing base. Like there's stuff that's just untapped though. Lily, I believe, was playing Tengu Dive, the Lily that made top cuts. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. I think there's a lot more to be explored in the meta though. And just judging from some of the stuff I'm testing to potentially play in Indy and then in Michigan, there's a lot out there that's just untapped, and it's so new. It's such a new, fresh meta. I'm sure that people in like newer players, and I kind of hope they do this. This is kind of the intention of it. Will go ahead and if they see something they like, go ahead and net deck it for one of these events and just play it. I know for me, I'm not playing Wagner at more than one event. I want to play something different at each one, and I hope that if you like the list or if people who face me enjoyed it, go ahead and build it. It's not an expensive deck to build. But like
Actually, thinking of Wagner, so if you didn't have access to napalm bombs, how would you adapt the deck to work around that? Because I know Sturmloff, Shield Ram, like if you don't have those cards, you can feel good about going out and buying them because they are
they're insanely good. Napalm Bomb was the one that you could kind of sub out. Even if you wanted to go like a cheaper route and go something like a Rapid Proto Buster. If you wanted to go into because it still works and I believe Napalm Bomb was a 3 of in my deck. So like you could still go like a Rapid Proto Buster, which has its own benefits actually over Napalm Bomb. Not a ton of them, but enough of them where you can say, okay, this is like the Robot Masters thing. It clears itself. It's got a high block. There's enough stuff where you could justify like, okay, this is a nice card. Like you could play Robot Masters with this. Like there's alternatives.
I forgot about that card.
Rapid Proto? It's terrific.
Now I'm remembering BB Hood, and God, Fire BB Hood is so fun.
I'm remembering your Turbo BB Hood that I had one actual loss with Anacaris. I played, guys, I don't know how many of you guys out there played the Turbo format. I played a Mill Anacaris in Turbo, which, like, it's depressing. But my only loss was to Kevin playing BB Hood, who's just like improved design, like headed at like +7 or something like that. It was just ripping shield rams off of.
I played my one Omnis Whistle too.
The
was like turn
8. Now the one card I legitimately was talking about this for the format too. It was Omnis Whistle because there's not a lot of sexy answers to it in MCS format. So like guys out there, go ahead, build an Omnis Whistle deck. I'm curious if it works. But there's so much untapped potential, and I think you could do like the Wagner deck on a budget. The Napalm Bombs are probably the most just from a price perspective the most expensive card. But there's alternatives. Saw Blades is the most important probably if you're going to go chase the rares. Saw Blades is the most important because once you get Saw Blades in play, you're basically +3 speed, +1 damage on all your attacks. Mix that with the Robot Masters or something like that, and actually,
I guess thinking about it, like you before Dave Wagner really starts to be appealing, you really need the champ assets too. So you almost would want to start as a different fire character, maybe even, and just keep the core of improved design Robot Masters.
Legitimately, if you really like fire and you can't get a hold of the champ assets, check out Pharaohman too. Skylar's Pharaohman list was very similar to mine. It's just less assets, it's less rares. He still had, I believe he still had napalm bombs, but you can still like I was saying with the rapid protos, just throw rapid protos in there. They're 3 low 5s that clear themselves basically in. Well,
Pharaohman is effectively Dave Wagner without the form, because all your opponent's checks during attacks get -1, and if they fail a 5 check when they have to check a 6, you get +2 damage. So
it's like a passive stun in a way too, if they want to prevent the damage. Pharaohman's really strong. He's a character. He's on my bucket list of characters I want to play at a major. I really like Pharaohman.
Perhaps you should play him at the next Midwest stop.
Maybe. I'll throw it out there. I'm looking at Mega Man actually for the next Midwest stop. And I don't mind sharing the tech because I'm thinking it's not official. It's something I've got in the lab right now. I've got Bishamon, I've got Mega Man, that I think that they're decks that could actually win an MCS tournament. And it's this is the thing too, is like I think you can it especially promote it with like I hope new players embrace some of this stuff. Like I'm being more open about what I'm playing. I'm being more open with the tech. My dog makes a cameo. Yeah, I know Chuck McThorne makes a cameo. But I've been very open, and helping people with building decks and stuff. I sat down and did deck therapy with Chris the night before the tournament to help him with the Dimitri. Like it's really good to I want people who don't maybe are newer players and stuff to start topping some of these events. It's a good confidence booster if you're a new player just to see yourself in a top cut. Whether you win or not, sometimes you just need that. Okay, I made tops. Cool. I top cut. I got some product. I got some experience in a top cut setting. This is all designed. The entire core of this is to get some new players involved. I know for us in Michigan, we're growing a lot. We've got a few new players, and it's not, honestly that's something we haven't been able to say for a long time. Is that we have a lot of new players, and this MCS format has been a big part of it. It's been able to get a lot of players involved who otherwise couldn't have gotten involved. And I mean, you see my house right now. It's just a UFS emporium. But like I know as I talk to the biggest UFS emporium, but it's been helpful. Like when new players like, hey, do you got these cards or whatever, and you just hook them up. I mean, there's a reason that I bought like 20 copies of Journey West from you guys. It's because it's a staple card that we can hook up new players on and go, okay, here's this really good card. And it's a common. You can throw it in your deck and it does a lot of damage. And it's been great. I mean, there's a lot of newer, like Illinois in particular, like Rockford is a growing group. It's a lot of new players, younger players. I played some really good guys who were doing really well, and they've been playing a month, and they have good stuff there. And it's helpful, like just after a game, okay, hey, you could have done this differently, or this is what you could do, in the future, and offering deck therapy and just helping people out. And it's been really good. It's been really positive. It was a great experience, and I know Indy's kind of in the same boat. So we're gonna go there and play some good UFS and try some different things out and help them too. And Michigan,
yeah, man. I absolutely love the tournament circuit idea, having something like bigger than each individual event to build to with the point system and just kind of going places and being able to play more UFS. I absolutely love it.
We absolutely jacked the Empire Circuit final strategy too, with doing a draft, because I love drafting. It's one thing we don't do enough of locally, that I'm trying to change. I'm trying to bring in more drafting. It's just fun. It's just fun to do some different stuff. Like, you're a different deck every time. I know, like this past Sunday we drafted. I realized how bad Gabrick actually is when I had to play him in a limited format. He's not great.
Too weak, too good.
Oh, he's terrible.
Really?
It read a lot better than it actually. Like I was like, oh man, I got all these throws, and I was drafting Earth, and I'm like, oh, I got Gabrick, and it's on, and then I started playing it, and I was like, wow, it's +1 difficulty to all your throws to make them any good. Like it was rough. And it's because you have to overextend to really make the things happen. So I had Gabrick and Marathi and should have just played Marathi the whole time, but it was. Gabrick reads a lot better than he actually plays. Like I think you could read him and go, wow, that's kind of cool, and then you play him and you're like, wait a minute, that means +1 difficulty to all my stuff, and that's the hard part.
So back onto the Midwest Circuit stops. You got 2 more coming up with the limited format. Here in February 18th, you guys are playing in Indianapolis. Again on March 25th, you guys are going to be playing in Michigan, and then your finals is going to be held at the St. Louis 1K out in Collinsville, Illinois.
Yep, we're doing the finals. Will be Sunday after whatever all top cuts or anything are resolved for the 1K. We're going to be doing the MCS finals after that. We're working on some really cool prize support for it. I've seen like hints of like custom play mats and things like that for the event that are all really, really awesome looking. And I don't know how much we can spoil yet, but it looks great. And I like the ultimate goal of this prize support's cool and all, and I appreciate being able to give away lots of boxes and stuff is really good. But it's really important that this has got a lot of people playing a unique style of UFS, looking at the game differently. It's got a lot of new players getting in. It's everything we want for this game. And I really hope that other play groups, at least, even if you don't totally embrace it, just try it out. Just do a week of just an MCS format and just see how it feels. It really is different. It's a different style, and it doesn't seem like much until you realize how many awesome cards are in King of Fighters that are going to be going, and how many like not just an awesome in a way that stalls the game and makes it kind of like okay we don't we have to play much more honest. It lets you play a little more dishonest, and I stress a little. It's not like super dishonest, but it's a little more dishonest, and it's pretty fun. I really enjoy the format. So that's why that's what we play locally. I'm going to be switching it up a little bit to get ready for the Atlanta PTC. I pulled up the dates on the 25th, but I'm making sure I have my MCS deck ready and my PTC deck ready. So
speaking of PTCs, on the upcoming event schedule, a week from this Saturday is the Las Vegas PTC at We Play Games West, which is really important, as Kevin and I learned that there are 2 stores. That's in Las Vegas, Nevada. I know Kevin and I are going to be attending. I spoke with Shane and Jason, and they were telling me there's actually a fair number of people coming from out of town for that. So I think that's going to be a good PTC. It's going to be the first PTC that Blood Omen is legal at. And so we're going to go back to, normal standard like the rest of us play, except them Cornhuskers out in the Midwest. And then
the first time we'll see the first time we'll see Kapoken training and Conrad Handed in play with the new cards.
I know, it's interesting. I just want to say, we don't have corn to husk around here. I live right by Detroit. There's not corn to husk in Detroit.
Oh, yeah, you guys husk rusted out Fords.
I have the burnout tire on my front porch that I need to husk. That's about it. Legitimately, there is a busted up tire on my front porch. I just got to wait till trash day to throw it up.
So
there's a tire on my front porch. Keeping it classy.
The tournament schedule is very, very, very packed these next coming weeks. So this week from Saturday is the Vegas PTC. A week later is the second Midwest Circuit stop. A week later is the Atlanta PTC. You get a break for 1 week, and then it's back on the circuit again for more tournaments with the Omaha PTC. Then you get a week off. Then you get the third Midwest Circuit stop, a week off, and then the St. Louis 1K. So, in the next 8 weeks, you only get 3 weeks off of competitive UFS. For those of you who like to travel everywhere.
What's the date for the 1K?
April 8th and 9th.
Yeah, the week after that, there's another PTC in Little Rock, Arkansas.
In Little Rock. And then Worlds is about a month later. And if I'm not mistaken, because Phil actually in our Michigan UFS group on Facebook posted a list of like the spring events. And it's mind-boggling. Like, I don't know how to do it's going to be interesting like work schedule gymnastics to make some of these happen. I have pending flights and stuff for from PTCs and stuff, but I'm trying to figure out when to use them. And it's so packed right now that I don't think even like work would just laugh at me if I was like I need all these off. I'm going to try to go to as much as I can, but it's an incredibly packed schedule. I know this summer there's a couple there's one in Florida.
Yeah, in August.
End of August.
And I don't know what play group that is or who's in it or what it is. But I'm thinking about going down there because there's one of the HQs for my work is down there. So guys in Florida in that play group, I don't know who you are. But I think I'm going to come to Florida and play UFS with you guys during that tournament. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I literally, and I don't mean that disrespect. I don't know who's down there and who plays in that play group. But I'm going to probably come down in August for that one. But this spring schedule is really packed. It's really packed.
I mean, just be aware the most important events to come to are the 1K, Worlds, the Rochester PTC, and and then Nationals again. I mean, it's really nice. The schedule, other than the side events, other than like the privately organized events, is set for the year, so people can make their plans.
Yep.
But I know for some of these, I'm doing some weird flying to get out there. I know Kevin and I for Las Vegas, we're going to leave Friday night after work, hop on a plane, get into Vegas around midnight, play in the tournament, and come back Sunday night so we can go back to work the next day.
Yep. We got a direct flight back to Buffalo.
You guys are freaking insane.
Alrighty, I think we're getting close to time to wrapping this puppy up. We do have, towards the bottom of the hour, a birthday to celebrate at Jasco Games. Jason's birthday was last week.
Happy birthday, Jason. Thanks for keeping the game alive, man. I'm not playing it if you don't keep it alive, because if I'm not mistaken, just from my lack of
Slam, your beautiful face went away. There we are.
Away. Okay. From my lack of UFS knowledge, I believe the game has died twice, right?
Yep.
And Jason pulled it from the abyss and said, "I want this to exist," It's here because he liked it. If I'm not I don't think it was I think it was just I really like this game and I want to have it kind of thing. And it's here because he wants it to be here, and that's really cool. I appreciate that he just likes the game for the game, and that's why it exists. And I mean, I'd be perfectly honest. I don't know what I'd be doing without UFS. So I'd be a lot more bored. A lot of sitting around. I'd probably be playing WoW or something. I don't know.
I'd be a much better bowler.
I'm not even insulting WoW. I played a lot of WoW. It's literally that's probably what I'd be doing.
Well, Shane Duckworth tells me that as long as Jason draws breath, there will be UFS to be played. So let's hope he doesn't eat something he's not supposed to or anything like that.
Yeah, don't eat a bunch of Carolina Reapers and be the Las Vegas Beast and start, I
mean, he doesn't eat meat, so he's probably going to live forever.
Oh no, he's gonna croak at 40, dude. Start eating meat. Toughen up, Jason.
You need amino acids, man.
You need amino acids.
Eat a cheeseburger. Come on.
Can I discuss a little side event that went on in Illinois this weekend?
Sure. We got a little time left.
We played. This was the smallest of side events. At Chris Smith's house, he had one guest bed. And we played a 4-man tournament to decide who got the bed. I would like to congratulate Corey Hicks on playing No Attack Heidi to his victory and securing the bed by beating me in the finals. Phil Burridge drank an entire pitcher of margaritas, and then went on one of the greatest Facebook rants that I've ever heard that I ended up deleting because I thought it might be a little too offensive. But I did learn that No Attacks Heidi, if you're trying to play an honest mid-range deck that doesn't have out of your league in it, I don't know if it can beat No Attacks Heidi. No Attacks Heidi's a weird deck because it absolutely mops the floor with some decks and gets absolutely destroyed by some others. And I don't know, it's very odd. It's the strangest deck, and someone's probably going to break it, and it's probably going to be really good. But man, I've had some mixed feelings on it playing it and seeing it played so far. Kevin, you seem like the person that would build the No Attacks Heidi.
I've certainly tried it. I played 2 games in Octagon with it and promptly threw it in the not I didn't throw it in the trash because that isn't forceful enough. I threw it in the trash, lit the trash on fire, and then dumped the trash in the ocean. I don't know if I don't think my build was there's a it's a very No Attacks Heidi is I was just on level 1 of No Attacks Heidi. I think I was I'm going to play air, I'm going to play 4 dodge, 4 Templar, all these characters, whatever. 4 Ophid. This is going to be awesome. Yeah. And it wasn't that great. like my opponent just like played derpy random moves and knocked my characters off, and maybe I didn't have my game plan quite lined up against that or whatever. I know there's I've heard some really insane stuff where you play like 56 checks and just start consecutively stack characters on one, whatever. There's a lot of range there. There's a lot of kind of strategy that you can pick one way or the other, and it feels like there will be kind of, like you said, there'll be one-sided matchups, one way or the other.
Yeah, it felt very volatile. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, this is this 50-50 with it. It felt like there's like these 9-1s one way and these 1-9s the other kind of thing.
Yeah, and like
it felt very mercurial with it.
Even in individual games, like most decks, like you'll get in a situation like if things are kind of even, where like if you get a lucky top deck and draw 5 attacks, you'll win, or like you have to check some 5s to stay alive, then you get the backswing or whatever. Right. And like that's how the luck plays out. But in Heidi, if you don't draw blueprints, now it's like, well, did I find the 5th mech? Okay, I'm gonna make some control checks and try to Iron Grid into the 5th mech, and then hit it or not or whatever.
Right. It was interesting to see it play out. Audio League was a lifesaver, but it's a very, like, when that deck, if you get like 2 or 3 turns, like with like for Bishamon, for me when I was playing it against that deck, my Bishamon's very tempo based. I'm going to win around turn 5 or 6 kind of thing, maybe longer if I'm not seeing the right cards and just have to kind of stall, which is the worst thing that ever happened to a Heidi. Like for me against the Heidi deck, it's just giving Heidi like 5-6 turns. You're done. I have 30 life, and I'm going to supplement that 30 life and make myself hard to kill. But Heidi's attacks do literal 1 million damage, and they're unblockable. So yes, yeah, and that's a great way to look at it. Honestly, is that by stacking that last one, it is literally like it is 1 million attack for 1 million speed for 1 million, and it's unblockable. And
it's Shun Goku Satsu, right? Like the screen just goes black, and then there's like some after images, and you just explode. You're dead.
And there's nothing I could do. There's absolutely nothing. And Order Bishamon, by the way, is really good. It's a really strong deck. It makes the value of Flame Sword go up a whole lot. It's because there's so many. The one thing that all loses when Tides rotated was the weapon foundations. There's only a couple that are really really strong, and in Order
there's only a couple period.
There's only a couple period, and there's only a couple that are really that like worth playing, and like Stolen Swords value goes down a whole lot in all. But in Order, like I'm 35, 40 weapons, like it just your whole deck's weapons and assets and stuff. And in Order Bishamon was really cool. If anyone's interested in a 630 with really good defense, hit me up on Facebook and I'll show you the list. It's really cool. It's testing really well. I don't know if I'll play it in an event or not, but it's been really good. Mega Man's testing really good. I'm trying to throw some stuff out there for people that want to go to MCS events. I think Tengu Dive and Shield Ram decks are all really good in this format. That's about all the advice I can offer just off the top of my head because I haven't built the other stuff yet.
Well, Slam, let me tell you about a game we play in Rochester when it comes to only having one guest bed in the house. It's called We Get Hotels because we're 30. Actually,
No.
as far as that I was just being an ass. As far as the games we play, we actually play a fun game when we're opening packs where we just try to improve our knowledge of what cards do. And it's really fun. We open a pack. I think you've played with us before. And you get clues. It's like 20 questions, and you get clues about what the card is, and you have to try to guess what it is.
Can I tell you a card thing that I just discovered right now? This is something really good to probably go out on as we approach 9:30 here. I just put them in front of me. All of the Yamato Man attacks, the Yamato Supia and Yamato Sramu, are super racist, and like the entire
they're just English words.
They are someone doing an ignorant Japanese voice going Yamato Supia, Yamato Sramu. Like, that is Yamato Slam and Yamato Spear in a racist Japanese
Fura
accent.
Ingu Yamato Supia is Flying Yamato Spear. Yeah.
Flying Yamato Spear. We all had that kind of moment of self-discovery where we were like, that's really what's going on there. That's just like an English version of these cards. That one really got us. The thing is that, like, especially when people were rattling off like new card things to me, like, Oh, did you see that card? Lightning Vengeance or whatever. I just had to look over at one that I like the Ulrich cards where they all kind of have the same thing. It's just Ulrich and some lightning. Where I can't tell them apart. Like I'm bad with names, but I can describe them as like that. Hey, it's that flippy card that like I couldn't remember Journey West earlier before we got on the air. I was calling it that flippy card that makes the other attacks more expensive. I'm terrible with card names. Like I'm just terrible at it. I don't know.
The descriptions are good too, though.
The descriptions make sense. I couldn't tell you the names. After a while, you learn them, but I couldn't tell you the names right off the top of my head.
I mean, as far as Yamato Man goes, we kind of just make up our own names for it, or we just say the English word. Like we just call Furingo Yamato Supi. We just call it Flying Spear.
Mm-hmm.
And I am embarrassed to admit that the action I just call Katamari Damacy because that's just way too many words there.
Yamato.
I think Yamatamadashi. Yamatamadashi?
Yeah.
I think I answered the extra one. I think that's probably actually a Japanese word. That's just like something about Japan or like the emperor or something. I don't know, whatever.
So is my name in Japanese Saramu?
Yes.
Is that how am I Saramu from now on?
Oh, okay. And on that racist note, it's time to end. We'll see everybody next week. Good night, everyone.
Thanks for having me, guys.